There we go. Okay, it looks like we are up and running in both places. Would you switch my camera view, please? All right, there we go, finally. Okay. Well, hello everyone and welcome to my craft room. I'm very excited to be back. If you caught my live last week, my name is Carrie Giletto and I am doing some Facebook Lives for Heartfelt Creation. So this is the project we're going to be making today. We're going to be concentrating on the versatility of two different die sets, the centerpiece, the simple centerpiece dies and the elegant centerpiece dies. So that's kind of what this card is showing, and we will change our view here and get to work. All right. Hey, Tony. Can you change this so I'm not seeing the delayed feed? Sorry about the technical issues. I will get better at this the more I do it, but that's still the delayed, isn't it? Okay, here are the two sets that we're going to be focusing on today. This is the simple centerpiece set, and then this is its companion set called the Elegant Hearts centerpiece set. So we're going to do several different things with these today and talk about them so that if you have these in your stash at home, you can start maybe just using them in some different ways than maybe you've thought of in the past. And if you don't have these in your stash at home, maybe this video will inspire you to add them to your collection. They are some of my favorites. All right. So to make this card, we're going to start by die cutting. Today is going to be very heavy on the die cutting. I didn't do any flowers because I knew we'd be doing so much die cutting. I didn't want to go way over and keep you too long, so we wanted to keep the decoration part a little simpler. So the first thing you're going to do is take out the largest octagon. So I was calling this a hexagon, and then I counted the sides, and it's like, of course there's 8, so that would be an octagon. So you're going to take the largest one. Go ahead and open this up. And first, you're going to take a white sheet of paper that's folded over. You fold it over and crease it, and then lay your die on top, leaving the top edge off of the paper so that you can make yourself your card base. All right, so that's where you're going to start. You'll make a card base with just this section, the dies off the edge, so that you have your card. Most of you probably have done that before if you've watched very many of our videos. The next thing you're going to do, we're going to make this piece, which I like to call the hinge hider, because the purpose of this piece is only to glue on top here and hide this hinge on the back. All right. If you don't do this piece, when you put your top layer on and turn it over, you're going to see the design on the back side. And I don't like that. I like it to have more of just a clean, crisp look without, I like my backside to look as nice as I can, so I like to do a hinge hider. So that's what this piece is, and it's just one cutout of solid white. The next thing, you're going to cut one more, and this piece of paper, I believe, is from the Seasonal Wreath Collection, and it is this piece right here. And I believe that it was 4B, if I remember right. I used so much of it, I did not have the top portion to see, but that's that one. So, okay, so these are the 3 you're going to cut out using this large die. So once you have those die cut, we're going to move on to some more. So the next one, out of the Elegant Heart centerpiece, you're going to take the beautiful Elegant Heart part, and then this little piece right here. Let me see, can you see that? All right, this piece right here, you're going to line them up, and we're going to cut this out 3 times. Twice, I need you to die cut it out of just a white sheet of paper. I would use 80 pound or higher. I believe mine are 110 pound paper. but make 2 of those. And then you're going to make 1 out of Luxe Gold. Now I know all this die cutting takes some time, but we need all these pieces to make our shaker card be as sturdy as possible. Now you could cut less pieces, but then your shaker card is not going to be as sturdy. And I like mine to be good, and when you shake them, I don't want the edges to just be flappy and bend and stuff like that. So I like to really layer my cardstock to give it a nice sturdy hold. Okay, so now we're going to go back to this set. And if you count in from the outer one, that very outer, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So you're going to take the 5th one in, then you're going to skip one. So this is 6, and then you're going to take the next one, which is 7, like this. Okay, so these two here, it's the 5th one in and the 7th one in. And we're going to cut this several times, okay? So you need 3 of this shape right here out of just white. Then you need 1 out of the Luxe Gold. Don't you just love the Luxe Gold paper? Now I know with the lights and the videoing, we're probably going to have what normally we would call glare. But today we're going to call it shine, because isn't that why we use the Luxe Gold? Because it reflects the light and gives us that beautiful shine. So today we're not going to worry about glare. We're just going to call it shine and be excited about it, okay? All right, now the next one, the last one you're going to cut with this shape is out of something called a foam adhesive sheet. Now the ones I have happen to be Sizzix, but several companies sell the foam adhesive sheet. It looks like this. And basically this is just a full sheet. It's adhesive on both sides. It's the exact same thing as your rolls of foam adhesive, okay? The only difference is that it's a sheet. Now Sizzix sells it, scrapbook.com sells it. Oh, there's Stamps of Life. There's just several companies that have this product on the market, and it's handy to have in your craft stash. So if you have some of this in your craft stash, you're going to take this and cut that out of your foam sheet. Now when I run mine through my die cut machine, I don't need to change my die cut sandwich, the platform sandwiches. I can do it exactly like I cut paper. This will compress as it goes through, and it cuts out very, very nicely. Now if you don't have this, don't worry. You can still use the foam roll or the foam strips if you have any of the foam strips. It's just going to be a little bit harder, but not bad. You can still use this. Okay, so once you have these die cut, the 3 white, the gold, and the foam, you'll be done with this part. You can set those aside. Now, the very last thing that you need to die cut, this piece right here that was inside our decorative piece, this one right here, we need to cut 2 things out of this. I cut 1 piece of yellow, and this is from the Sunflower paper pad, and for me it was just one of my scraps. I wanted my card to have a very gold and yellow tone to it, so I used yellows and golds for all the pieces. Now of course if you want to make yours a different color, you just choose papers that are pleasing to you that you like. And then the last thing, this is a piece of acetate. And I cut it out using this die right here. I'm going to put it on a piece of white. You might be able to see it better, but I still have this piece comes off, of course. And can you see that? That's just a piece of clear acetate. And it's not any heat resistant or anything like that. It's just regular old acetate. Okay. All right. So once you get all of that we will be done. As far as our card base, we will be done with the die cutting. All right. So we're going to take this card base that we made, and we're going to take our hinge hider and glue it right on top. And today I'm not going to be using hot glue. Today everything that I do will be able to be done with just regular of the dries clear glue. Now when I add my glue, I purposely leave the part that's going to be my top. I leave a little bit of room there because I know that's going to hang off. And if you remember to do that, it saves you from having to wipe some glue off or getting it on your surface because you do that. And I can tell you that because I've done it many, many times. A lot of times my top tips are because I've done it many times and messed it up. So I'm able to share my experiences with you. Okay, so as you can see, we have our hinge right here. Now we're going to take this piece and go ahead and glue that down. How are y'all doing today? If you are, all right, it looks like we're getting lots of comments. It is hard for me to see the comments today because we're on Facebook and YouTube both. I don't know how to really manipulate my cameras yet in order to be able to see the comments. So it looks like there is someone from Heartfelt maybe moderating. It looks like several that they're answering some questions for you there, and I'm glad to see that because I was a little concerned about how I was going to do that. If you do have a question and it's not answered, I will be online after the live and I will scroll through the comments and try to get back to anybody if we've missed anything during the live. Okay, so there we've got our card base together. So we can go ahead and set this piece aside. Okay, ooh, now we're going to work with these beautiful pieces. The first thing we're going to do is our two white pieces. I need you to glue those together, whoops, straight on top of each other. All right, and that's just going to add that stability that we're looking for. Now, if you look at the back side, you've got two octagon shapes here. That's where I like to add my glue, just along those lines. It's pretty easy to just run your glue tip around there. And then I kind of just hit and miss around these edges, but nothing fancy, just a little dot as I run my glue bottle around just to hold those little pieces down. Oops, there we go. All right. You need to burnish that down. Sometimes I like to turn it upside down and give it an extra press. All right, now we're done with that. Now we're not going to put this one on yet because we're actually going to put our acetate on next before we put this, but not quite yet. So go ahead and set these three pieces or two pieces aside. And go ahead and grab two of your white pieces that are like this, and your piece of acetate, and we're going to make our little acetate window. Now if you want to use the wet glue you can, but for this I have an 1/8 of an inch score tape here, and that's what I'm going to be using to, and I like to pull off a nice big, you see how long that is, a nice big long piece. I just, whoops, pull that off. I'm getting it stuck all over me. And then way up close next to this inner edge, I'm not putting it out here or in the middle, I'm putting it in the inner edge, and I just press and then turn. You see that? And you do get a little bump, but that's okay. You see how I'm doing that? Right when I press right there, I can turn it. I'm gonna see, you see those little, you do get a little bump, but that's okay because we're just gonna press those down with our bone folder. And this is a nice, quick, easy way to add our acetate. Okay. Now it's important that we get full coverage. When you look here as it goes around, we want that to be full coverage because if you leave any gaps, then our whatever we put in our shaker can escape. So before I pull that off, I just like to go around with my bone folder, and that presses all that down. But it still releases just fine. Whoops, you see that? The paper just pulls right off. So this keeps you from having to cut little bitty pieces all the way around, hoping that that all connects together. Now we're just going to add our piece of acetate. You know what I had planned? Let me put this piece of paper underneath and see if that helps you see it a little bit better. Can you see my acetate a little better? I don't know. Yes. All right, but basically you're going to add this acetate right on top. And we're going to sandwich our acetate here between these two. So now you're just going to add this piece on however you would like to do that. Now I'm going to go ahead and use a 1/4 inch, and I'm going to apply it in the exact same way that I did the 1/8 of an inch, the 1/8 of an inch that I did before. So this is 1/4 inch score tape, and I'm going to run it on top of the acetate, but more towards the center. And I'm going to do it the exact same way that I did the narrow one. And this kind of just gives me some extra holding that acetate in place and makes that nice and secure. And it also makes it easier to build my window when I get ready to complete this card. Having my little acetate window all sandwiched together like this just makes it easier when I get ready to put the final product together. So again, I'll pull that off. So is this a trick you've done before with your score tape when you're going all the way around a project? I don't know if that's a top tip for you or if that's something everybody's been doing. That's just the way I like to do it, so I thought I'd share that. So line that up and try to get your edges as together as possible, because this is our window. So if you get that off a little bit, you will see that in your final card. So try to get that there. So now we have our acetate window done and ready to go. So we can put that aside. And the next thing we're going to do, okay, what you should have left, we should have our foam. The gold one we're going to add towards the end, so you can set that one aside. And you have one more of these. So what we're going to do with this, go ahead and your, whoops, not that one, your 1/8 of an inch score tape. Now, you know what? Let's go ahead and just use wet glue for this. That way, if you're using wet glue, I can show you. You're going to add your wet glue just the same place I put the score tape. We're going to do it right along that inner edge. Just a very thin line. You don't want that oozing out. I try not to get my glue oozing out either on my gold luxe or on my acetate window, because then it just gets messy. Okay. And we're going to add this right in here. Okay, before I go any further, I wanted to share how I do this. Okay, when you're adding your sentiment, when it's a red rubber stamp like this, when it's like this, you can't tell what's straight. So sometimes when I try to just get it on there as straight as I can, and I turn it over and I stamp it, I find that I still, do you notice how that's a little bit crooked? Like if I put it here on the line of this, it's just a tad crooked, and that bothers me. So I'm going to show you how I go about getting that so that it's not crooked. I do use, this is a mini Misty, but any stamping platform would work. And inside my stamping platform, I have a little grid. So what I do is I put this in and line it up on my grid so that I know that this piece is totally straight. Then I take my stamp and I put it generally where I want it in there. So I'm kind of centering it in there. I'm not worrying about whether the words are straight at this point. I'm going to lay this piece of white paper here just so you can see the lines a little better. So go ahead and I pick that up. And when I open it up, the grid lines here on the lid, I can kind of just wiggle it a little bit, still keeping it in its place, to make sure those words are straight. And I can see by the little points and see this word that that is definitely straighter than how I would have had it if I had tried to line it up myself. And then I just go ahead and stamp it. Now, a lot of times I want my sayings, my sentiments on my cards to be nice and dark. So I use, I don't always want to use black. So I often will use a blue or a dark purple or something like that instead of black. And that's just a trick I do. So today I'm using a dark blue, and I am going to go ahead and stamp this twice since I have it in my Misty. That'll just give me a nice dark sentiment in there. I don't like my sentiments to be hard to read. I like to be able to really see them. So now that we have that piece done, we are ready to finish up our little window. Okay, so here we're going to take our foam piece and peel off one side. And again, this just makes it so much easier. Trying to get that lined up. If it's not perfect, it's okay. As you can see, mine is not. But this piece is going to be on the back side. So see how I got that off a little bit? It's best if you can get it exact, but if not. But this is the point where we're going to add our sparkles. Have you ever made a shaker card and forgot to put the bits in? And you get it all completed and you're like, oh no, I taped it up and I forgot to add the bits. So in our sample here, I just put glitter on the inside. But in some of my others, I put a few sequins. And so in this one, I think I'm going to add just a few sequins in there. And any sequin mix will do. These are just some clear sequins that I picked up, I think, at either Walmart or Target. They were not anything special. When it comes to sequins and that kind of thing, my thing is to find the cheapest ones possible. That's how I go about buying them. And then I am going to add just a little bit of our glitter in there because that just really makes it fun. All right, now you remember our little window that we made. We're just going to go ahead and peel off the top of this and add our window. And again, the straighter you can get it on there, the better. This is the part that will show, so I'll try to make sure we don't see any edges on the inside of our window. Ta-da! Success! We did it. Okay, so there's our little shaker window that we are going to apply to our card. So the next thing is we're going to add this one onto here like this. So I'm just going to add some glue. So if you're liking this shaker card, please give me some hearts and some thumbs up there. I hope everyone's having a beautiful day where they are. It always amazes me how many different places our crafters tune in from. It literally is all over the world, and that just brings us all great joy to know that we are communicating and crafting with just people from all walks of life all over the world. And I hope that you're blessed and having a great day wherever you are. Okay, so when we go back to our base card, make sure you find your top. You don't want to, because our sentiment is already in there, you don't want to be gluing this on the wrong way. Okay, so that, I can't tell you how many times in class that happens. If you do ever do that, just cut off the back, make yourself a new card base, and glue your front onto a new card base. You don't have to throw the whole thing away. But if you just find your top at the beginning, that will save you having to do that. So yes, that's all good. And I'm going to add some glue. Now you want to be pretty generous with the glue here because this is kind of heavy. We've got several layers of paper going on here. So you do want it to have a nice good hold. And we're just lining that up. Oops. Now we've got a nice sturdy shaker going on there. All right, the next thing we're going to do is add our gold piece. Now often when you see our card designers from the design team, they will offset that gold a little bit so that you can see some of the white underneath, or if you want to, go ahead and do it perfectly solid. Now for me, sometimes I'm intending to get it perfectly solid, but I do get it off a little bit, so I just call that a happy accident. Now on my original, I did put it on so yeah, you don't see an outline, but if you're liking that look and you want to see the outline, you go right ahead. And I'm going to apply the glue the exact same way we did it on the white ones. For our shaker card, we manipulated our dies there in several ways and layered them up to kind of get a lot out of our dies. But I have several examples to show you at the end of just lots of other things that you can do with these two die sets. And it is a lot of fun. I find myself reaching for them often because I can use them in so many different ways. The way you can just two die sets having so much versatility in the way that you can manipulate them and use them interchangeably to create lots of different looks. And I use them in conjunction with lots of other dies in my stash as well. So I'm going to show you some examples of those at the end as well. So, all right. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to get mine on there straight. I don't always. I probably should have done that before I glued it onto the base. Then I'd be able to press it down a little better. So one thing about this dries clear glue is it grabs on there so quick and good that even though I didn't do it where I can totally burnish that, it's still going to hold just fine. All right, now when I made this, I didn't like this white showing, so that's where our pretty little gold piece comes in, okay? And again, you're going to want to line that up as straight as possible because you're going to be able to see it. You see how quickly this came together? The only time-consuming part really was the die cutting at the beginning. The rest of it just really comes together quick. Now I try to get it right where I want it when I first start because I don't want to get glue on my gold luxe if I can keep from it. If you do end up getting a little glue on your gold luxe, you can use a baby wipe right away to wipe it off, but if it does dry a little bit, you can use the undo to rub over that and that will clean it up. All right, so here's our base shaker card. You see all the sparkle in there? And we've got that beautiful shine going on with our gold luxe. All right, so we can set this aside and we're gonna make our little decorations. All right, because this video was focusing so heavily on the die cutting, rather than doing flower shaping, I chose a set that has just smaller sweet images that we could decorate with that wouldn't be focusing on a particular flower. So I chose the summer wreath accents and the summer wreath accent dies. Of course, you could have used any of the Stampin' die sets that Heartfelt has that are little images. I just thought these summer ones were perfect for this, for the sentiment and all in this card. But there's the fall and the winter, and if you wanted to give this card a totally different look, you could choose some of those. And then of course all of the stamps and dies with filler flowers and things like that. Or if you wanted to use a shaped flower, of course that would be a great way to decorate this at all as well. Oops. Okay, so here's I went ahead and stamped these, and I used one of each, except for this one I did 3, although I think we're just using 2, and then this one I did 2. But other than that, it was just one of each that came in this set. So I'll show you again. It was one of each, but I did 3, but I only need 2 of these, and then I used 2 of these. Now I went ahead and colored most of mine up, but I did save a few here so that I could show you how I colored these. So for my greens, I used the chartreuse, the leaf green, and the emerald green. Whoops. I'm going to start with the emerald green, and I'm using our triangle daubers. And just going to lay down a little of that in here. Sometimes to get a really the illusion of movement in your images, by layering up color like this, it gives you that illusion of movement. Because when the light hits things, you see different colors. Your eye sees different colors in things. So that just creates that illusion. So I'm applying this on here, but I'm leaving the tips white at the moment. Now, let me go ahead and show you. On all of these flower stems, I used the leaf green. On these two, I used the emerald green. Now, this one, I did the same layering technique that I did with these. But on this one, it's just straight emerald green. And then I believe on our little heather over here, I used the emerald green. And that was, you probably don't need to. If you just had one green color and you did them that way, it would still look beautiful on the card. I just like to put some variation and some in the greens. I decided I wanted this to be a little bit darker, so I'm going back in here with that. All right. And then lastly, my favorite green of all, this vivid chartreuse. And I just went over the tips. Now, this one right here, I did something a little different. Just the tips of all these leaves, I did with a little bit of chartreuse. Yes, I'm just doing the tips. Okay, I think, yes, that's everything. So we're done with the greens. So next here, we're going to take these three. I've got sunflower, vivid fuchsia, and the magenta. I don't really use very much of the magenta, but I will show you what I did with it. If you didn't want to use this color, just these two are the main ones that we used here. So for the yellow, I got a little bit here on just the tip, and I'm going to do the tops of these little guys. This one. I'm going to try to get just the center. Of course, it does come out a little bit, but that's okay on these flowers. And our bumblebee body. Turn my paper here. And just, I'm going to try to get just the bellies of our little birds. And if it gets on their body some, that's okay. All right, it looks like the comments, I cannot see them at all now. So I sure hope everyone's there and that we're getting lots of interaction. I'm afraid if I tried to switch the camera view to see it, I might mess the whole thing up. So I'm kind of afraid to touch my computer today. So I promise I will come back through and look at those afterwards and answer any questions. Okay, now we're going to take this vibrant fuchsia. And we'll do the hearts, and I'm just doing all of them, just getting some color on there. And on all of our flowers here, we're going to add some vivid fuchsia. You can see that I am not taking a real long time with any of these. And then lastly, I've got my magenta hue, and I put a little bit of that magenta hue here in the, oops, I think I grabbed the wrong dauber. I used my, my fuchsia one. And what was the other thing? these little, can you see these guys right here? I'm going to add just a little bit of the pinky colors into those. Not a lot, just a little. So I think when I originally did it, I used this one much more often, but when I went back, I decided I wanted these brighter, so I did them in the fuchsia instead. All right, now our last three colors are going to be the Forget-Me-Not, the Majestic Violet, and the Deep Purple. Oh, you know what? I totally forgot to tell you this. All of these images were stamped in the plum color, and I kind of wanted them to not be too noticeable, but I didn't want to use like a brown or a black, so that's why I kind of chose the plum, because I just wanted to sort of have them brownish, but I thought plum was a really good substitute for brown. So that's what I'm trying to say. All right, I used the Forget-Me-Not ink to kind of do my butterfly wings. I also added a little bit onto these little guys. Then I went to the Majestic Violet. And I did all of the heather or snapdragons or whatever you wanted to call those. I guess it could be any of those kinds of things. And then I also took this, and this one right here, I ran it up the middle. Not real heavy, just kind of lightly, so that it's the green tips and then just a little bit of purple in there, just to give that one a totally different look. And I'm going to go back to my Forget-Me-Not because I noticed I just forgot to do the birds. I took a little bit of the Forget-Me-Not and I did just the backs and the tops of the birds. There we go. So, really just getting some color on those birds. So has anyone had a chance to really play with the wreath building dies? They came out last year, and I've used them a few times as supporting pieces, like on something like this, but I need to really create some wreaths. I think that would be fun. So one of these days I'm gonna have to do that. So here is our last color, the deep purple, and I just put those right here over this. So there's like 3 colors in these little balls, and that just gives it some definition. So. And then last but not least, I went back with the plum. And because I'm using it as my brown, I did just a little bit of the plum on our nest, just like that. So there was quite a bit of colors involved in these, but it was so fast and easy, it didn't take any time at all. So go ahead and we'll die cut all of those out. And of course there's not a shaping mold for these kinds of things, so we're going to go to the good old shaping mat and stylus here and give these some shape. So for these little pink flowers, I turned them all upside down, and I kind of did the same old trick of doing a circle and then turning it over and pressing in the center. For everything else, I'm going to turn them all upside down. And we're going to make circles on the big parts and turn it over and press gently on the narrow parts. See, I like to hold them by the stem when I do this. And turn it over and just gently press. For this one, I just kind of went and pressed on all his little leaves there. And see him curling up while I do this? For the butterfly, I'm going to rub both of his wings, get them to curl, and then turn him over and rub down his body just to get his wings to kind of flap up. There we go. Little butterfly wings. For our birdies, I'm just going to rub on each of their little bodies. Sometimes it's nice to get the old styling mat out and shape things up. It's just fun. We use the molds so often nowadays, but I still enjoy this process. I just press down on his wings a little bit. And go. Now for the nest, I'm going to place my birdies. I'm going to put the 3 little birds on top of those eggs. So I'm not going to do anything to that. I'm just going to make like a smiley face on the nest part and call that done. I might press down just a little bit on the eggs. There we go. And for the heather, I just did a stripe up on each of these leaves to kind of get them to curl. Turn it over, put a press. Now most of these, now on this is the one that I did a little differently. I left him on the front side, and I just took my stylus and ran it up each of the leaves, and that made them curl up. I thought that was kind of just something a little different. And we'll go on the back. We kind of did it the opposite way. So you see how those curl up? Thought that was kind of fun. Something a little different. So is it starting to warm up where you are? Here in Texas, we've had some beautiful days. We actually got in the water the other day, which for this is the first time. It was a little cold, but the water was a little cold, but the temperature outside was warm enough to get in, and so that was really fun. There you go. All right, and lastly, we're going to take this little fern leaf, and I did him a little different as well. I put my finger here on his stem, and then just kind of pressed randomly. And some of them I drew back, some of them I didn't. I wanted those to be lots of different angles and things. I didn't want them all to be shaped the same. So I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there you can see it pretty good. See that, how they're all kind of different? And same on the front. I just kind of, whoops, pressed on his stem there to give that some different shape. Okay. All right, well that was fast and easy. This card is coming together very quickly, and I'm happy about that because I felt like my last live, I really kept you almost an hour. So we're doing a little bit better on our time. So here's our sample, and we're going to arrange them on our card front here, and I'm just going to use the dry as clear glue to add these on. And I kind of have it like parentheses around. You could also kind of do it where it's angled. So kind of pick your 2 pieces where if you choose one of these, of where you want your design to be. And I'm still just going to do mine the way I did it last time and have it like parentheses around my sentiment. I'm just adding my glue right on the stem. That way it doesn't ooze out where I don't want it on my gold luxe. I guess it's Luxe Gold. I don't know why I always say that backwards. Oops. Didn't want to hold down there. Now my method for doing the gluing, I almost always just add a little glue, put it where I want it, and count to 10, and that is usually enough to hold it. It seems like on this it's wanting to pull up a little bit. Now I'm purposely not gluing down all these little leaves because I want to get that movement and that shape. What's in there? But this is kind of the fun part. We're just going to fill this out. So let me know, do you already have the Elegant Centerpiece dies, and have you had a chance to play with them? If you have not taken advantage of the Elegant Centerpiece dies, if you have signed up to be an insider member, you can save 20% on those. And that's a great savings. And along with that, you can also get free access to all of our online classes, and you get free shipping. So that is quite a bit of savings by becoming an insider member. So that is definitely something to consider. Okay, we're just going to build these up. There's no right or wrong. Just kind of put them where you like them. We're going to So let me know in the comments, do you consider yourself a neat and tidy crafter, or are you like the explosion all over the room kind of crafter? For me, it kind of depends on the project. Most of the time, I'm fairly neat and tidy, believe it or not. But when I'm making an album, it just seems like it explodes all over the place. But when I'm card making, I tend to be fairly tidy and organized. I like to kind of collect the things that I'm going to use for that card. I do my die cutting and have all my pieces. And I color them up. I'm kind of systematic in the way that I put it together. So let me know how you are. I'm not worrying too much about my stems showing here because I'm going to be putting flowers and the bumblebee and things on top of that. So I'm not really concerned that that's going to be showing. Oops, I think I had him over here. Okay, now on these little things, I did snip them apart so that I could have a little more variation in where I put them. I'm gonna tuck him under there. Whoops, spill my glue. Now these respillers are so fun because you can really just design any kind of little, I guess, design that you want. Add this flower right here. There's so much versatility that you can do with the wreaths. I think it would be fun to make this shaker card like in reds and greens and use the winter. And you could even put the wreath all the way around. There's just so much fun things you can do. Now this little bumblebee, I think I'm going to put a pop dot under him. If I can get a hold of one. Things are all stuck together over there. Yeah, I'm just gonna pop him up a little bit. There we go. Now we'll move over to this other side and decorate it up. Okay, there we go. Now, looks like I have some pieces that I'm not going to be using. I always like to make a few extra. I did pop dot this heart as well. I'll pop it, put him over there. We're going to add our butterfly and our birds. And the last thing we have to do, I'm going to go ahead and put a pop dot on my nest and on the back of the birds. I'll go ahead and add this last flower. All right. right, so now that we have all of our images on, we can do a little bit of glittering. I'm going to add a little bit of prills onto the corner of our, onto the center of our two little flowers here. I'll go ahead and do that while I've got my glue out. Okay. Okay, I'm going to shake it off into my little cup over here. Okay. It is very strange for me not to be able to interact with you because I can't see your comments. So I promise for my next live, I will have my tech guy figure that out for me. And I happen to be married to my tech guy, so I have quite a bit of sway with him. So here we go. We're adding our, we're just dabbing on some glue here to both sides. And I'm just being real random with that. I'm just trying not to get it on my Luxe Gold. But we're just going to get some sparkle on there. So if you like this project, if you like the idea of using your octagon centerpiece dies here as a shaker card, do give me a thumbs up or a heart. There we go. All right, there we go. Our beautiful shaker card. I'm going to give it a shake, okay? It's a little hard on the video, but there it is. I love those sequins in there. All right. Okay, before we switch views, I do want to go back and show you some of the other samples I made with the centerpiece dies. I think I started to ask you, if you already have the centerpiece dies, do let me know what you've been making and if you are enjoying those. And if you don't have them, do consider going over to the website and checking those out. Here are a couple of the exact same card in different color schemes. I did use the same summer. Like I said, I would like to go back and try on this one. We glittered the edges. And on this one, I don't know if you noticed, but we did it kind of cattywampus instead of like this. So that's just an option for you, and lots of different color combos. But now let's look at some of the ways that you can use these dies differently. So here's one where I kind of just used it exactly how you would when you first look at the package, the way you would kind of think, okay, this is the way this was designed to work. I just chose the centerpiece to be like an image out of the paper pad, so it looks like the butterflies are here on my flowers. And then on this one, I just used the octagon shape to make my shape card and my very base layer, but then I paired it with other dies that were not from this die set. So you can use them in conjunction with lots of other dies that you have. You don't always have to use them just together. So that's a totally different option by just using it as a shape card. On this one, I didn't put the base under the bottom. If you can see right through the decorative heart piece around the edge. And I thought that was kind of pretty, just to give that look. Instead of making like these where it's a whole base card, this one's just a little more delicate looking by being able to see through those lacy bits. Now, when I turn it over, I did put a card piece on the back. Whoops, if I can lift it up here, where you can open it up and still write your sentiment and your greeting to whoever you're giving this to. But I thought this one would be very pretty as a wedding card as well. Now for this one, yeah, that's right. I made this one specifically to show the different things that you can do with just the octagon pieces. Sorry, I keep calling these hexagons, they're octagons. But this centerpiece die, if you see the width of this one right here, that is by using one, skipping one, and then using the next one. Kind of like what we did to make all of our window pieces. But if you look at this decorative pink piece, that's by using one right next to the other. So by using two that are in conjunction, that's the width that you get. If you skip one, this is the width that you get. And then for this piece, I skipped two and got this piece by, let's just show here. I believe I did it like maybe I'm sorry, I skipped 3. There we go. I skipped 3 to get that width. Okay. So anyway, by using these dies in lots of different ways, you can just manipulate them in so many ways to give you lots of different pieces to work with. So I made this card just to really show you that. And then my final card that I wanted to share with you is by using our elegant centerpiece die. The one piece that we didn't use in today's card was this very pretty centerpiece. So I use those to make these pretty backgrounds and to create this golden anniversary card by making that background. So that's just a totally different way that you can use these dies. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and switch my camera angle back. All right, well, I hope you had fun with me today creating this beautiful shaker card. And I hope you were inspired to, whoops, I got it crooked. I hope you were inspired to go to the website and check out those. If you click on the product in the shop, it'll take you to the gallery where you can see lots of different projects made with these cards, both by the design team and those back at the headquarters, I should call it. And if you haven't become an Insider member, I hope also that you will consider doing that. So I'm really looking forward to bringing you my next Facebook Live, which is with the new release in a few days. That's going to be, I believe, a dragonfly card, but I just love that one. I'm excited to share it with you. So, all right, well, thanks again for joining me this morning, and I look forward to crafting with you again soon. Have a beautiful day.